Many thanks for joining us on the newsroom on TV 360 Nigeria. The federal government has released guidelines for the safe reopening of schools ahead of the resumption of schools at every level in the country. In a document released on Monday, the government recommended the practice of keeping a safe distance from others. It says learners are required to stay 2 meters apart. The NCDC public health guideline also require learners and children to be divided into small groups to mitigate the risk of contact. At the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria, schools and all learning facilities were closed to safeguard the health of children, youth, teachers, and educational personnel. Nigeria on Sunday reported 571 new cases of COVID-19 with 343 more recoveries. This is according to the latest figures released on Sunday night in a tweet by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. The NCDC noted that the new cases of COVID-19 were reported in 19 states of the country as well as the Federal Capital Territory. It added that Lagos State had the highest infections for the day at 152 and is followed by Ebonyi of 108 and Edo with 53. The new figure now takes the country's infection from the virus to 32,558 with 704 deaths and 13,447 persons discharged. The Kwara State branch of the Nigeria Medical Association has advised Nigerians against visiting hospitals to minimize the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. NMA Chairman Kolade Sholagberu disclosed this while briefing newsmen on Monday in Ilorin, adding that 35 doctors had so far been tested positive for COVID-19 in Kwara. He, however, added that the association has not recorded any casualty among its members. He also cautioned residents to disregard the belief that COVID-19 was not real and was only a money-making avenue for the government. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has reimposed a night curfew and suspended alcohol sales on Sunday as COVID-19 infections spiked and the healthcare system risked being overwhelmed. In recent days, COVID-19 infection numbers have skyrocketed, with at least 12,000 infections recorded daily. South Africa is the worst affected country on the African continent, with 276,242 registered cases, including 4,079 deaths as of Sunday. We'll take a break here and we'll be right back. To stay with us.
Trade is a force for good. I've seen it with my own eyes. Its ability to improve millions and millions of lives. I've spent my life working with teams around the world to deliver reforms, broker agreements, improve systems, fight corruption, and empower economies. Coronavirus has changed the face of the global economy and left many countries facing difficult choices. This is a critical moment for world trade, and the WTO has a vital role to play. It's time to come together. It's time for the WTO to listen to its members, seek common ground, hunt for solutions, rebuild trust, and return to its founding mission. My name is Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and I'm the woman for this job. I want to bring a fresh pair of eyes and ears to the WTO and make it fit to thrive for the 21st century.
Shegun.
Alpha, shey tomorrow still dey on?
What's your tomorrow?
Community meeting now.
You know they hear Abi?
Na beggy. See, if we meet for my house, inside parlor, then go know.
This COVID-19 is not a child's play.
If you want to elect a new secretary, we fit to
Do one for WhatsApp, or for Skype, or even on Zoom. Or we just wait.
I will not
this social distancing. It is non-negotiable.
Not every infected person shows symptoms, but every infected person is contagious. Avoid large gatherings and self-isolate if you think you might have come in contact with a carrier. Your safety and the safety of others is in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur.
Unknown gunmen have killed 3 persons and abducted 2 others in some communities in Dosin-Ma local government area of Katsina State. According to eyewitnesses, the gunmen attacked the town on Saturday night, shooting sporadically and injuring many people. In another attack on Sunday, the bandits stormed Subwa and Sabonli in Kofri town, abducting 2 young women identified. Meanwhile, the police is yet to confirm the 2 incidents. The federal government has arraigned 10 alleged pirates for the hijacking of a fishing vessel belonging to Haina Fishing Company. The defendants, said to be residents in Nigeria, were arraigned on 3 counts before Justice Ayokunle Faji at the Federal High Court in Lagos. The prosecuting counsel for the federal government, Labaran Magaji, said the defendants committed the offense in May this year on the international water at Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, thereby violating Section 3 of Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offences Act 2019 and were liable to punishment under Section 2 of the same act. When the charges were read to them, the defendants, however, pleaded not guilty. Police operatives have rescued a citizen of the United States of America who was allegedly confined to a Lagos hotel against her wish for over 1 year. The victim, who came from Washington, D.C., arrived in Nigeria on February 13, 2019, on a visit to 34-year-old Chukwebuka Obeaku, a native of Ikeduru local government area of Imo State, whom she met on Facebook. The retired civil servant reportedly lost about 18.5 million naira to Obeaku, who allegedly took control of her credit and debit cards, as well as the operation of her bank account. The suspect also allegedly took receipt of the American's monthly retirement benefit and allowances for 15 months. This has happened in a few weeks after the police similarly rescued a Filipino woman who was lured to Nigeria by her supposed lover, whom she equally met on Facebook. According to the police, Obiaku, a graduate of business administration and management, is an internet fraudster who has defrauded many unsuspecting members of the public, both locally and internationally. A federal high court in Abuja has ruled that the Nigerian army has no power to declare any citizen wanted. Justice Ijoma Ojukwu delivered the ruling in a case between one Issa Peri Brema, a Nigerian activist in diaspora, and the Nigerian army. In January 2019, the army declared Brema wanted for reportedly raising funds for troops and vigilantes fighting Boko Haram insurgents in the northeast. But the army described his actions as fraudulent and said he embarked on the venture to defraud unsuspecting members of the public to fund subversive activities and personal lifestyle. Following the declaration, Brema filed a suit against the army for alleged defamation. Delivering the ruling, Ojukwu held that the army had no right to declare the plaintiff wanted without making a formal report to law enforcement agencies who enforce law and order. Suspended acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Magu, has been accused of failing to give a proper account of missing 332 out of the 836 recovered real estate property in March 2018. In a report, the Presidential Committee on Audit of Recovered Assets said the property Magu unaccounted for is worth billions of naira. The report said, quote, "Most of the recovered assets are allegedly sold without anyone knowing and without proper records." It adds that it's also on record that the suspended acting chairman is maintaining different accounts, including using proxies who return the benefits of the sold assets to him. Magu is currently being probed on charges of mismanagement and lack of transparency in managing recovered assets while heading the anti-graft agency. Legal practitioner Malaki Ogumadu has been reacting to the novel situation in Ondo State, where the Chief Justice of the state refused the request of the lawmakers to set up a probe panel for the Deputy Governor Agbola Ajayi. Giving reasons for rejecting the Assembly's request, Justice Olariwaju Akeredolu said the House had not completed the constitutional process that will make her grant the request. Speaking on TV360's flagship program, the G360, Ogumadu proposed that the Nigeria Judicial Council step in to resolve the situation.
what can happen is, like I said, it could be reported to the National Judicial Council, or alternatively, they can go to court. Don't forget, she has cited that there has been a suit in this matter, in respect of which there was probably, I'm not too sure, an order, a restraining order, an injunction, or whatever it is. But I'm saying, with respect to this decision that she has taken, which is very interesting, which is very novel, either party can decide to approach the court, once again, to determine what she is supposed to do in that instance, whether or not she is at liberty to decline the request made by the Speaker of the House of Assembly, knowing fully well that without the composition of that panel, mark you, it is not the members of the House of Assembly that conducts the investigation. It is a 7-man panel constituted by the judge, the chief judge of the state, that undertakes that exercise. It is the report they make to the House that becomes the oxygen, that becomes the product, the raw material with which they deliberate. And it is largely based on the recommendation and the findings of that panel. That the proceeding of that panel and the determination of that panel is what the Constitution is saying cannot be a subject of litigation.
Ivory Coast Vice President Daniel Kablan Duncan has resigned his position. Duncan's resignation was announced by President Alassane Ouattara's office on Monday. Patrick Achi, the Secretary General of the Presidency, said the Vice President was leaving for personal reasons. Duncan previously served as President Ouattara's Prime Minister. His resignation comes barely a week after the sudden death of Prime Minister Amadou Coulibaly, who was also the ruling party's candidate for October's presidential election. Christopher Aurier, the brother of Tottenham defender Sergei, has died after he was shot outside a French nightclub. The 26-year-old was killed in the early hours of Monday morning after suffering a gunshot wound to the stomach. Local residents who discovered Aurier called the police. However, he was pronounced dead upon arrival at hospital. French authorities have launched an investigation into who is responsible for the killing, with the guilty party reportedly still at large after fleeing the scene. And that's it on the newsroom on TV360 Nigeria. Thank you for watching.